Hey Gigi, you want to say hi to the Kino Lords out there? I'm talking about a film starring you, or co-starring at least. He's like, why did you wake me up for this, you piece of shit?
Kiki's Delivery Service is a Japanese animated film that came out in 1989 that was written and directed by the legendary Hayao Miyazaki. So, Kiki's Delivery Service is a film that I finally decided it's time for me to just sit down and give my full attention to. Because for those of you guys who don't know, as I mentioned in my Boy and the Heron review, Kiki's Delivery Service is one of the 4 Miyazaki films that I haven't seen. The other 3 I haven't seen from Miyazaki are Porco Rosso, Castle in the Sky, and Nausicaa. And as I shamefully admitted in my Boy and the Heron review, I've actually attempted to watch Kiki's Delivery Service 2 different times, but I fell asleep on both attempts. That is not in any way because of the film. It's just because every time I tried to watch it, it just wasn't a good time. It was late at night and I was already exhausted, so really not the best setting to watch this film. Now I said, fuck it, I'm gonna watch it during the day. I'm gonna watch it with Jen, and it's her favorite Miyazaki film, her personal favorite Miyazaki film. And now that I finally watched this film, I gotta admit, I think my Kino Lord license, my cinephile license, whatever you want to call it, should be considered for suspension just for falling asleep to this movie, period, at all. Because this was one of the most beautiful animated films I've ever seen and is up there in my personal favorite animated films of all time. I really, really adored this film with every fiber of my being. This is a film that is essentially aimed towards children and perhaps preteens, but I feel like no matter what age you are going to fall under this film's spell, because from beginning to end, it is just so beautifully realized, so well written. The scenery, the landscape, and just the world overall is so well imagined, and it's just so incredibly easy to attach yourself to the main character of this film and to all the conflicts that she encounters throughout the storyline. And I feel like in a lot of ways, this film really tapped into many childhood fantasies that we held as children, at least for me personally. The main one being something obvious like possessing magical powers and ultimately using those magical powers for good. But really, I think the biggest one in this film is being able to separate yourself from your family and just living your life independently. Like in this film, Kiki just completely leaves her parents' home, goes off to a new city. Again, she's not even a preteen in this film. She's still, very much a child. And, she, gets a job and gets money and, sleeps in her own bed and buys her own groceries and, basically is a child living life as an adult, at least attempting to her best ability, living her life as an adult. And I feel like as children, that is something that is like a huge desire and fantasy that we always have. Like when we're kids, we just want to grow up and have freedom. Then we grow up and we're like, can we please just go back to being a child? Debt, bills, and panic attacks are heavily weighing down on me, and I just want to go back to Blockbuster Fridays. But anyway, yeah, this film uses the framework of this childlike fantasy to explore a lot of coming-of-age type themes that have to do with having responsibilities for once, being held accountable for your actions, problem solving in what seems to be hopeless situations, learning the complications of friends and friendships and relationships. But I think most importantly, what this film touches on, especially by the third act of it, is learning how to deal with identity loss in a way that really makes you rethink who you are and lead you on more of a journey of self-discovery. And I just really love that this film was able to explore a lot of these incredibly important themes in a way that didn't feel like it was shoving it in your face or ways that felt too obvious. I felt like this film was incredibly layered in the most quietest way possible, that really allowed me to appreciate a lot of the way that this film was setting up conflicts and character relationships. For instance, there's this one sequence in this film that I just truly adored, and it's this one sequence where Kiki has to go and pick up this herring and pumpkin pie, I think it was, and she's picking it up from this one girl's grandmother. And let's just say that problems arise from the situation, and from her own will and determination, goes through so much trouble just to make this delivery work. And by the end of it, the result and the satisfaction is pretty piss poor. And it's really just an excellent sequence overall, because not only is it just a great examination of the wholesomeness and the good-hearted nature of Kiki's character, but a lot of lessons are learned, and one of the most important ones being the fact that, you know, sometimes your excitement and your enthusiasm for something isn't going to be matched by someone else's. Sometimes the sacrifices that you make can seem worthless at the time. But yeah, this film is just filled with different types of conflicts like that within the storyline. The first real big conflict that she gets into involves a huge gust of wind that gets her involved with a bunch of crows that just hate her guts. And that entire sequence is also just amazing from start to finish. Not only is it actually quite suspenseful, but there's a lot of humor that is embedded within it. And again, it just really makes for not only a wholesome experience, but an experience that is actually engaging and thematically compelling. But yeah, obviously, I found this to be such a wonderful film. I just think it's so lighthearted and so wholesome, yet, again, thematically and narratively engaging. And it just really impressed me on every single phase of filmmaking. So I'm going to give Kiki's Delivery Service a perfect 10 out of 10. One other thing about this film that I forgot to mention was the musical score. The musical score for this film is, I believe, my favorite Miyazaki score. It's just so memorable. I watched it yesterday, and all day today, it's just been in my head constantly. It actually reminded me a lot of the N64 Zelda games, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Those are pretty much my all-time favorite video games. But all in all, this is just such a magical film, and I highly recommend everybody to watch it if you haven't already. Doesn't matter what age, I feel like you are going to get so much enjoyment out of it. It's hilarious, it's charming, it's wholesome, and there's just so many insightful things I feel like you could take away from this film as well. So, I believe that's all I got to say about Kiki's Delivery Service. I think the next Miyazaki film I'm going to give a try is Castle in the Sky, mostly because I already own it and I might as well. But I hear Castle in the Sky is one of his not most beloved films. I think Castle in the Sky has probably the most divisive reaction amongst his filmography. It could be wrong, but that's just my impression, of the opinions I keep hearing about it. But I'm definitely going to give that one a shot next. So let me know your thoughts on Kiki's Delivery Service in the comment section, and also Castle in the Sky. Also, if you want to share your Boy and the Heron thoughts, I also welcome it in this comment section. And if you haven't seen my Boy and the Heron review, please go check that review out as well. That's all I got to say. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about the film, give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.